Counselor Boger, can you hear us? Mark says he's talking.
Yeah, it's just very quiet.
Okay, I think we're all set, thank you.
Interesting one came out as far as audio goes. That one doesn't do it.
That controls those other microphones.
Nope. That's what we thought too. Oh yeah. We're gonna.
Because that's, no more, we got noise ordinance. Something you're including?
No, it's already covered in the ordinance already.
Yeah, I have no problem, I mean, that's what,
It's 167, section A covers all that stuff. Laying rubber and all that stuff, so.
problem is we just can't keep enforcing it all the time. It's hard.
If you could have a cop everywhere, you'd be all set.
tonight. Thank you very much. You're a nice man.
I do what I can.
Despite what everybody says about it.
I have to keep this guy in line all night, so I gotta be.
All right, are we ready?
We are on.
So the hour being 7:05 p.m., the City of Laconia City Council meeting I'd like to call to order for June 23rd, 2025. Before we go any further, I'd ask you all to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Joining us this evening is Katie Gargano, our city clerk, and our clerk this evening. I'm going to ask her to please call the roll.
Counselor Cheney,
Here?
Counselor Susie,
Here.
Counselor Haynes,
Here.
Counselor Bogert, Counselor Felch,
Here.
Mayor Hosmer.
And I am present as well. We have a quorum. We're also joined this evening by City Manager Kirk Biotti, Finance Director Glenn Smith. On any comments from the public tonight, either for matters on the agenda or not on the agenda, we want to keep comments to 3 minutes, as is our norm most of the time. Moving along to our agenda, agenda item 7A is the City Council regular meeting minutes of June 9th, 2025. Minutes of the Laconia City Council meeting of that date were distributed to the members of the City Council on June 13th with no amendments or changes submitted to the clerk. They will be accepted as distributed. Agenda item number 7B, minutes of the Laconia City Council budget meeting of June 2nd, 2025 were distributed to the members of the City Council on June 11th, 2025 with no corrections or changes submitted to the clerk. The minutes will be accepted as distributed. Agenda item number 7C. This is the City Council budget meeting minutes of June 9th, 2025. Minutes of that budget meeting were distributed on June 13th, 2025 with no corrections or changes submitted to the clerk. The minutes will be accepted as distributed. Moving along to agenda item 9. This is an opportunity for citizens to comment on matters not on tonight's agenda. If there's something that's not on tonight's agenda specifically listed, now would be and you'd like to speak about it, now would be the appropriate time. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Dave DiTomaso. I'm a city employee of Laconia at the fire department. My question to you is I heard you all speak a couple weeks ago when Chief Joubert gave his budget presentation. I heard you speak about mental health and what you guys thought you would do about it. And my question to you is, what will you be doing in regards to that conversation you had a few weeks ago?
It's an excellent question. I think this is the time for you to speak, us to listen. If there's something you'd like to want the council to consider, I think now would be the appropriate time to suggest those considerations. And we usually don't sit and have a colloquy, but
Sure. I heard you speak about the investment into mental health to take care of your firefighters. In today's day and age, there are things that we see, there are things that we do, and there are ways to handle your firefighters and your firefighters' mental health. And I heard you discuss options about what it would take to have an outside party come in and potentially do counseling services or something to that effect, a mental health professional. And I'm here to tell you that there's something that's happening right now that's working. And we have a chaplain, you see, and this chaplain has done amazing things for us. He's helped us come to conclusions and things that we wouldn't have otherwise come to in our personal lives. And that's incredibly important, you see. When we show up to work, we give it all. We lay it all on the line. And we do it. We don't expect to thank you. That's not why we show up to work. We do it because we want to. But it takes a toll. And I think in today's day and age, we all know that it does. And the things you don't see are the things that are hardest for us sometimes. And this thing that's been working is this chaplain. Father John. He shows up and he does what he does, and it's helped us in our home lives. It's helped our professional lives. It's improved the quality of our lives. And when I heard you speaking about an investment in our mental health, I thought that maybe there was a chance, maybe we could see you honor that by investing in this thing that's working, our chaplain, Father John. That's what I have to say about that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to step forward and speak to matters not on the agenda?
Nice tie.
Likewise. Thank you. I just wanted to give a shout out to the city departments, from the very top to the very bottom, for the great job everybody did during Motorcycle Week. It's hard to say, well, we can say it, things just go very smooth. And I just want to emphasize it was a great rally from that perspective, with the usual bumps and grinds. But I just want to thank everybody and assure you again that everybody was just wonderful this year. So we can't give you a Fritzy Bear Award every year, but we'll give you a shout out every year in any event. And it's great working as we all do together. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move along in our agenda to public hearings. We've got a few to work through, so if you hear the public hearing that you came here for, make sure to keep your ears peeled and step right up and speak. So agenda item number 13, 13A. This is a public hearing, offer to purchase city-owned property located at tax map 442-15-7.1, second and third floors of the parking garage located on Beacon Street East, Laconia, New Hampshire. Notice of this public hearing is made available in the June 12th and June 17th, 2025 editions of the Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, offices of the SAU. I would like to open the public hearing on this matter at 7:12 p.m. If anyone would like to speak to it, now would be the appropriate time. It's okay, John.
Mr. Mayor, City Councilors, John Moriarty, speaking as a resident of the city and a business owner and property owner in downtown Laconia. Usually I come to you better prepared with several notes on several conversations, and I have not done my homework. I apologize. I think, if I counted on my fingers correctly, I've had 10 short conversations about whether this is a good idea or not. And essentially, all I can report is that I received a bunch of shoulder shrugs. So I have no idea what anyone in our community, for the 10 people I spoke to, think about it. And I'm not even going to express an opinion tonight. I'm here tonight to say I have lots of thoughts about it, but I just want you to know that someone from the public cares and is paying attention. And thank you for the trust that you have earned in thinking long-term and looking out for our future. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you all.
John, rest assured, not one of us here thinks that you're not paying attention to everything that goes on here, whether you're present or not, okay?
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to this matter? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing at 7:14 p.m.
Mr. Mayor?
Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Richard Holmesy, Summit Ave, Laconia. I first heard about this a year or so ago
No, it's on the garage.
in the city garage. We're still on that, correct?
Yeah, go right ahead. Don't use up your 3 minutes.
So I heard about this a year ago. I placed an offer that was up for bid. I was the highest bid for the offer of the parking garage, to the tune of $60,000. The offer was rejected. At that time, there was a bid from a gentleman, I don't know who he is, wanted to put a pickleball court in. I think he owned Pogus Bay Pub at one time, not sure. Don't know his name. The city was considering going with him to buy the two floors of the parking garage and put a pickleball court in. And I write editorials from time to time in the city newspaper, the Laconia Daily Sun, And I put an editorial in there saying that we have 9 pickleball courts already. And, you know, I don't know how many people are playing pickleball, but I think we have a bigger need in this city for affordable housing. Not low-income housing, affordable housing, not a condo to sell for 300 or 500 like they're doing at Friendly's and so forth, but affordable housing, rental units that are maybe 800, 1,000, 1,200 bucks a month for the worker that's working at Cumberland Farms and the gas stations and the Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's that support us, right? And that provide for us, right? So then I guess it went south. It didn't, the sale didn't go through to that gentleman for the pickleball court. So then I hear about it again, that it's come up again. I think I read it in the newspaper and someone called me about it, that the city was considering giving it to a gentleman for $1. And I found out the gentleman owns the first floor business down near the physical fitness location. So I have a bunch of questions. I definitely have more than 3 minutes worth of questions. And
I don't think we're in a position to answer a lot of questions. It will come up for discussion later on. This is an opportunity for you to speak, share your opinion.
Okay, well, I think that considering the budget that we have in the city of $90 million to the tune of $264,000 a day to run the city, I find it preposterous unless there's a buyback or give back or something that the city would give a property for $1 when they have an offer on the table for $60,000. So can that $60,000, which I'm still offering, can that go towards, you know, fire station mental health issues support? Can it go towards the homeless issue in the city, which every city has homeless, right? Unfortunately. Can it go to that? Can it go to, you know, a youth program? Can it go to sporting goods for the junior high or high school or grammar schools? Whatever, $60,000. Can it go to a street that the city maintains and it's not paved, and the city doesn't own the street, but they have to maintain it, so we're constantly putting dirt, and Wes Anderson and his guys, Public Works, are constantly putting dirt and rolling it out and going down excavators, and it floods out, and they gotta keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. We've been doing this for decades. We keep doing these 4 streets and the city doesn't own. So can we put $60,000 towards the street? You know, maybe get a street paved that they don't wanna pave. So, you know, and then I talked to the Tara at the tax department today, and I asked her about if this gentleman gets it for $1, is the city gonna make any tax revenue on that yearly annual tax bill? So his downstairs is at $1.1 million. He's paying $15,000 in taxes. Well, now this building's in disrepair, supposedly. It has structural problems and so forth. So you can't use the 3rd floor, but you can still use the 2nd floor. So if he gets it for $1 versus the $60,000 that someone else wants to pay, meaning me, what are you gonna tax him? So that's a question. And then on top of that, he's gonna come back probably and say, if he's a smart businessman, he's gonna say, well, the building's in disrepair, it'll cost me millions to fix it, or do whatever I wanna do with it. It has no value, that's why he sold it to me for $1, so I shouldn't be paying tax on it any more than he's paying now. He's paying $15,000 on $1.1 million. There's some carbon fiber that is incredibly, I'm not a licensed carbon fiber professional, but through surveys and different companies, there's a lot of carbon fiber that can be used to reconstruct and support buildings like this that have steel structure problems if the concrete's still good. So there's a lot of questions that I don't know if the city looked at it already. I heard the city spent a lot of money to the 200,000 or something, or 250,000 over the years investigating the condition of this building, and now we're just gonna give it away? So I don't know if it's in the best interest of the city to give it away. I mean, real estate is prime, right? So you got an offer on the table. Mr. Beatty's had it for a year, and I just gave it updated to him maybe a month ago or so. The offer still stands for $60,000, and there's a plan in that offer of what I want to do with it, and I want to, my plan, just so you know, is to leave the 2nd floor as parking, free of charge, and then on the 3rd floor, reconstruct the 2nd and 3rd, whatever you have to do to reconstruct it, to make it buildable for affordable housing, not for cars, not for snow load. Use solar, redirect the water off the roofs with the solar panels, with heat panels, and generate water to use for the heating systems, and recycle and do this. And this can be done. I'm a Massachusetts guy originally. We built this, they built the city of Boston to drive underwater. We can build affordable housing on top of a garage that's got some structural problems. And there's a lot of buildings going on in the city, millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of buildings. The people up here know how to build them. They know how to build it on granite. They know how to build it on rock and ledge. We can get the crews together and get this done. So I'd hate to see the city, unless there's a plan that maybe this gentleman that's gonna buy it for $1 is gonna reconstruct it, spend $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, and come back and hand it back to the city. Hey, great, let them do that, but I haven't seen that. You know what I mean? So, no, what's so funny, Mayor? I don't understand. Because maybe some people have that kind of money and they want to donate something, right? I'm trying to do a good deed here, and you're chuckling in front of me. That's not good for me.
I'm chuckling.
You know?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, I'd rather you not do that.
Well, I appreciate that, but
Good.
I think when you suggest that a private person would buy it for $1 and put $20 million in, then give it to the city, that doesn't make any
I
sense to
started
me.
at $5 million.
So, okay, look,
it's a
hold on, I'm not
hypothetical,
gonna
Mayor.
debate. I heard what I heard.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's gonna spend that kind of money and then give it back to the city. So I'm not quite sure what you're alluding to there. But I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. You're
Yeah.
over time right now.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for me before I leave the floor? I wasn't done, but I guess you took this a little personal, but
No, I didn't.
you interrupted me, Mayor. You
I
did.
did because it's my meeting.
Yeah,
And
and you can interrupt me?
I can. So you're over time right now. I think we've heard a lot of what you've said.
Okay.
Everyone here is familiar with your offer.
Yeah.
So unless you have anything new to add to that, I think we're gonna wrap up and let other people
For
speak.
now, I have nothing else. Thank you for your time, City Council. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, could I
Please.
make a motion that we skip item 13B, get C through F done, because I suspect we have a crowd of folks
Sure.
who want to talk about.
Anyone else like to speak to 13A? Seeing no one else stepping forward, we're gonna close the public hearing at 7:22 PM. So we're skipping over 13B. We're gonna go to 13C. Agenda item 13C. Another public hearing and resolution 2025-24 relative to authorizing the use of downtown TIF funds in an amount not to exceed $27,645 for improvements in the downtown area. Notice of this public hearing is made available in the June 12th, 2025 edition of the Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. Action on this item may be taken up under unfinished business later on this evening. Right now, I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:21 PM. If anyone would like to speak to this matter, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing no one has stepped forward, I'm going to close the public hearing on agenda item 13C at 7:23 PM. Agenda item 13D, public hearing, resolution 2025-23, request to authorize withdrawal in the amount of $71,000 from the Winter Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund to accommodate unbudgeted expenses incurred in responding to winter storms. Notice of this public hearing is made available on the June 12th, 2025 edition of the Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. Action on this item may be taken up under unfinished business later on this evening. Open the public hearing at 7:24 PM. If anyone would like to speak to this matter, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing as no one has stepped forward, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:24. Move on to agenda item number 13D, which is a public hearing and resolution 2025-22 relative to carrying forward certain appropriations from fiscal year 2025 into fiscal year 2026 to allow for the completion of continuing projects and priorities. Notice of this public hearing is made available in the June 12th, 2025 edition of Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. Action on this item may be taken up under unfinished business later on this evening. I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:25. Anyone would like to speak to this matter? Please come right up. As no one has stepped forward, I'm going to close the public hearing on agenda item number 13E at 7:25. Agenda item number 13F, public hearing on resolution 2025-21 relative to making itemized appropriations for city funds for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025, terminating June 30th, 2026. Notice of this public hearing is made available in the June 12th, 2025 edition of Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. There will be no council action on this item at the conclusion of this evening's meeting. With that being said, I'd like to open the public hearing in this matter at 7:25 p.m. If someone would like to speak to agenda item number 13F, now would be the appropriate time.
My addendums when you're ready.
Kirk, the city manager, Kirk Biotti, has a couple of items to mention in regards to this, and it's probably wise to take this before people speak anyway.
Yep. So this, what I'm passing out to you now is some addendum to the budget. There is no bottom line change in the budget. There's no negative tax cap implication. It stayed with what is. Most of it is moving money around. We had underfunded the Public Works Internal Revenue Service, which is the maintenance piece of it for fixing vehicles, but we were able to fix that by moving some money around within the budget. This does include, we had 2 half-year positions filled or intended to fill. One was a project manager position in the planning department, and one was a crime analyst for police department. We did remove the crime analyst in this year's budget, leaving in the project manager position as potential funding.
Which item is that, Kirk? I'm sorry.
If you look at that page there, it's in the top paragraph.
Got it. Thank
There's
you.
3 stars. And the original budget and the addendum does not have any additional funding for the chaplain position as discussed. The rest of them are mostly moving money around. You will note that there's an increase in revenue that did change, and that was able to help us with the offsetting the cost for the Internal Revenue Service. We were part of the Concord Co-op, which is where our trash went. We had interest in their property and buildings that sold, and we received money from that. As you can see on the bottom, there's no change to the amount to be raised by taxes. Page 2 of what I'm giving you for your consideration is the Pumpkin Fest is in there, and it would be a special revenue account. So what we estimate for expenses is offset by estimate in revenue. Internal Service Fund had a few adjustments. We decreased it a little bit, but nothing major in there. We used some rollovers, and there was a workers' comp adjustment. And then the last thing on here is the Lakeport TIF. We didn't fund it to the level that we were expecting to this year, only because the money that we had put aside in it last year was not used, so we didn't need to. It still has plenty of money in there to start the bond when it's ready next year, and move that forward. So again, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, there's no vote, there's no action on this by you tonight. My intention, unless something changes, is the July 14th meeting would have this on your docket for consideration. We were waiting on a couple items from the state. One of them has come through, and it didn't affect us at all, so that was good. That's where we stand at this point. And just so you know, on the agenda tonight, at the last thing we do have, and you can have it, you can move it up if you choose to. There is a general budget discussion for you, just to have conversation if you choose to.
Kirk, if we were to, if you were to add back in a full year project manager, the crime analyst, and chaplain funding, what's the total dollar amount?
So full year for them, or 2 half years for the first 2?
Well, the first.
So
Give me full year on both of them.
So full year for both of those top 2 would be about $120,000 each. We were funding
Per.
half year per. Yeah. So we were funding half year each if we could, and then $45,000 for the chaplain. So if you did full years, you're 280, 285. Half year and half year, you're in the 160 range.
Mr. Mayor? Wasn't there a discussion about on the half years because number one on the crime analyst, there really be nothing much to do between now and the end of the year. Because the implementation of the equipment and all. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's not necessary to fill it right now until okay.
Yeah, and we had that discussion. I think that our goal was to have it as a half year starting so they could help implement the project when it started. But if we continue with, which is intended to in this budget, intended to continue with that infrastructure build out for them, they will need it. It's definitely going to be a request in Chief Canfield's budget next year.
Next year.
Definitely, yeah, it would definitely. I think you'd like it in this year for the half of the year, but it's something we can work through for
But
next year.
starting January 1st, if he has a candidate, that person could be hired and would be funded.
No, I took that out.
Moves-
I removed that. I removed the
So
crime
that-
analyst
that's-
this year.
Okay, all
Yep.
right.
But if you put 60,000 back in, yes.
Yeah.
I would add that I strongly support the money for the fire department chaplain.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we spend money on, I can't justify.
While we're on that, if you don't mind, Mayor.
Yeah, please do.
I've had the opportunity to speak to a few of the firefighters that have benefited from having a chaplain. I actually got to speak with the chaplain this week. And looking for only $45,000, no benefits. The firefighters really need him. He's been doing this for a while for nothing, but he needs to be able to make a living, and I'd really like to see that happen.
Yeah, please.
The city manager, we're gonna see the same kind of request, just a preparation from the PD.
I haven't talked to Chief Canfield about that. I'm not sure.
'Cause I would think we see the same kind of, challenges for the police officers as we do for the firemen.
So I have spoke to him as well, and they have Father Mark that comes in,
Know Father Mark very well, okay?
And-
Well, let him finish.
and Father Mark's willing to keep doing it indefinitely, as he does. Will it come up in a later date? Who knows? Maybe next year, but as of right now, we need it for the fire department.
Probably at some point in the future when Father Mark doesn't want to do it. I think
Right.
there's,
Or it gets transferred, that's what,
yeah. I mean, I think there's need in both, right? I mean,
that's what I was
Yeah.
getting to.
Yeah, please.
Mayor, my only comment, I think that's money well spent as far as the chaplain is concerned. So I support that.
I support all three of your recommendations or considerations, Mr. Mayor, the 2 half-year and the 45 for the chaplain I would vote for.
Perhaps we can go back to looking at numbers again,
Yep.
and see if.
Yeah, I'll have to go back
I
and
mean, it's-
look.
I
And
know
that's
it's challenging, and I-
well, no,
that's
it's the
just-
way we do it.
You're right.
I would also respectfully ask that at the 14th, I'll ask Chief Jubert to be here to speak on this as well. I think if we're adding money to that amount of money to a specific department budget, the department head should be
I would agree, and I think
in
maybe
front of
Chief
you.
Canfield as well.
Yep, we can do that.
Because I think that's important, and obviously there's give and take here.
Both of those functions really need that.
Yeah.
That's what we should.
And we might give some considerations to it not being a fire chaplain or a police chaplain, but a chaplain, or chaplain's services. And
That's an excellent
not consider it as a fire department expense or a police department expense. We could find a line item or create a line item, which wouldn't affect the fire department's budget.
Okay.
One more question on different.
Yeah,
item.
of course, yeah.
On the project manager,
Mhm.
was it, I know, I totally agree that we need to do something there. We gotta put some more help in the planning department, okay? Do that. Why did we kill the half year? Money?
Money. It was just money, but also you know, if we tell the planning director right now to go ahead and hire this position tomorrow, it's going to take a few months. We still have to draft up exactly what we know the concept of what we're looking for, but to say that these are the specific 10 items that they need to hit and all that, and but what level of education and training we want in that position, that's what we're still working on. We know what we want them to do, but it's going to take a little bit of work. So we both felt that that if we're looking to adjust a little bit of money this year, that timing-wise, we're in a good spot.
So,
Go ahead.
so the planning department is supportive of holding off this till next year?
Yeah, they're fine with because we know it's going to take a little time to get this
I
hired.
want to make sure, because to me, that person would be working hand in hand with the Pillsbury Group, for example.
Yeah, and if you look at where state school is as in its grand scheme of timing and everything, we're in a good spot.
Thank you.
If I might, Mr. Mayor, I would add that we need to know that the state school project is committed, or we're hiring a planning person, a project manager for no major project. I thought that the project manager was primarily for the state school. And, well, if I might just finish, I think if we put in a half year, by that time we'll know what the commitment is on the part of Pillsbury Group and all that other stuff, and then get ready to go. So, thank you.
Yeah, no, I think that what drove this was that project. There's no question. But we also know in looking at that we're not hiring a person to strictly work with that project, but understanding that a lot of the questions, issues that come through the planning department or even the code department, a project manager type person is going to be a boots on the ground in the field liaison really between all of our departments with projects, understanding that that's a significant project that they'll be working on.
One more question. Okay. Do you
Promise?
One more question. Okay, sorry. No promise. I'm taking Council Cheney's place here. Okay, but one more thing. Well, knowing the state school, okay, that project is going to be enormous. Okay, will you be coming back to us probably next year with the planning department saying, instead of one, we need 2 or 3?
I think at next year, no. I mean, I don't think we're going to be in a position with that next year. I think we're going to have to see that project's going to grow out over a decade, and we're just that's way too early to be saying that we need to jump it up that much.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we have enough coverage and it's being
Yeah,
done.
no, we need to see how this person works and and watch that grow out with them.
I want to support them.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so we are still in a public comment portion for agenda item number 13B. Oh, no, sorry, we are on 13F. So with all of this discussion taking place and new information being presented, anyone like to speak to this matter right now?
This will all be part of your agenda packet. That you'll see this when you see it as a public record next time.
Thank you. That being said, I close the public hearing on 13F at 7:38 p.m. We will not be taking this matter up later on this evening. Going back to agenda item number 13B, public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but after the public hearing for this, I'm not sure if you wanted to move that up. I know a lot of the audience is here to hear how that plays out.
Sure.
22B would be your next move
Okay,
after
we'll go
that.
13B to 22B, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Agenda item number 13B, public hearing for Laconia State School property. Memorandum of Understanding with Pillsbury Realty Development LLC. Notice of this public hearing was made available in the June 12th, 2025 edition of the Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. Action on this item may be taken up after we finish the public hearing. With that being said, I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:39 p.m. And if someone would like to speak to that, now would be the appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Just want to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Kevin Smith, and I'm the project manager on the Laconia Village project. With me this evening is the owner of the project and the owner of Pillsbury Realty, Michael Kettenbach, and also our attorney, Ari Pollock, who worked hand in hand with the city's attorney on the MOU that you have before you this evening. And let me just say that we are very, very excited about moving this project forward. We feel like we've come a long way since we won the bid on the project last summer. We've had numerous meetings with the Technical Review Committee. We're going to be before the Planning Board next month, and hopefully soon we'll have an approved master plan. Just to be clear, this MOU does not approve the master plan. It does not approve any site plans. It is simply the framework for how the mechanics of the development will operate moving forward. And so with that, if the board or anyone from the public have any questions this evening, as I mentioned, Ari Pollock, who worked with your attorney on this agreement, is here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you coming in tonight.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, Patrick Wood, Ward 1. I've had many years of experience dealing with real estate development. I read this memorandum of understanding and I thought it was a fantastic document in many respects. It gives a good outline on where things will go and how it will go, and I thought it was a great explanation of where we can begin this process. So I applaud the city and Pillsbury Development for putting together this agreement up front so that we all get to see what's anticipated. So,
Patrick, if you've have time for one question.
Yep.
In your expertise in housing and your relationship to Laconia Housing and what's going on here, do you have any thoughts about the diversity of housing that's being discussed here?
It's so early, Mr. Mayor, and there's so many unknowns about this. Obviously, affordable housing is a critical aspect of any development that we have before us. We on the Housing Authority are struggling every month trying to figure out how to meet some of these needs that we have. We've got a waiting list that's twice what we have available, either in vouchers or in units themselves. And that's for people that are basically $30,000 and under in income. They're either elderly or disabled as well. So that next step, this housing security issue that we need to all be thinking about is, how do the young people find a place to live? You know, whether it's renting or buying a house. How do people who are currently in a house and they need to get a larger house, how do they get to do that? You know, how do people in my age group, when they need to start downsizing, where are we going to go? Maybe we can sell our house, but where do we go? And then the homeless. So it's a level of care that we all need to be thinking about when we're talking about housing security. I look forward to working with Pillsbury from the Housing Authority's point of view on whatever they come up with and try to give them insight in what we need and how best to do that. So I don't have a specific answer for you, Mr. Mayor, except that we're willing to work and work hard with them and with the city to try to find solutions to these problems.
Thank you, Patrick.
So, thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to the agenda item before us?
Good evening, Brian
Evening.
Wolf from Laconia. As it pertains to the memorandum of understanding, I wanted to share a few suggestions, comments that are intended primarily to clarify what the document's intent is and the specifics. Section A in roads, to protect the city's residents, wouldn't it be better if we
go to a page here.
to page,
It's like 2 out of
Two.
10 or
2 out of 10.
73 in
roadway
your.
infrastructure?
Thank you very much.
Would we consider revising this particular section on roads to make it incumbent on the developer, rather than the existing residents of the city, to pay for improvements to city roads? Traffic study that's already underway clearly indicates there will be a significant increase in the number of cars on our city roads. We know what the funding is. We know what the challenges are on our city roads. If the incremental traffic from trucks to service the commercial, the incremental residential traffic that we drive, what, 15, 20% increase in roads in the city, wouldn't we protect our existing residents and the tax costs if in this section we were to revise the accountability to the developer? In other words, the developer is being enriched by the development of the community, and wouldn't it be appropriate for the developer to pay the costs to make sure our city roads are sufficient to provide capacity for the planned development from the developer? Section B, I believe that's also on the same page 2, underwater. I would recommend we revise and or eliminate the sufficient water capacity reference. I'll defer to Councilman Susi, who sits on the Laconia Water Commissioners, who's present this evening. There is not clear capacity to support the development. Perhaps in terms of pumps and treatment plant capacity, there is not, absolutely not, the capacity in staff or equipment. And so to represent that we have sufficient capacity misrepresents the current situation in the water department. Also, if there are improvements like with roads, wouldn't it be best we're creating a contract between us and the developer, to reinforce that it will be the developer who needs to pay, either through impact fees, additional charges for incremental water capacity to service the developer's development plan. Section C, same page, sewer infrastructure, same thing. Might we revise this section to again protect the existing residents of Laconia from future tax increases by making it incumbent on the developer to pay for additional sewer capacity or costs that are associated directly, that is key here, directly with the development as opposed to other development activity in the city. Sections 4, 5, and 6, the Robbie Mills project, the Robbie Mills water and sewer. These are currently referenced in the agreement as good faith efforts with the developer. If our intent is to maintain the parking and to add sewer and water to the Robbie Mills project, which again sounds wonderful for our city, if it again is the developer with capacity and funds and with the infrastructure at the site to add that, why wouldn't we just ask the developer to make those investments in our city? We'll be making significant investments as well. Why wouldn't we ask the developer to do that? In section 2.1, the performance zoning section, missing from this section is the words subject to capacity of city services to support the proposed project. In other words, we don't want to take a development on of this scale unless we are certain and confident we have the capacity to support it. Why would we limit the planning board's ability in that space? In section 3, missing in the developer's commitments is a fiscal impact analysis. Mr. Moore is not present this evening. He has assured us in prior meetings that we would have, is Rob here? We would have a municipal impact analysis paid for by the developer, though that's not shown in this particular section now. Then what's missing is that will come out of that. What, in simple terms, is the city's capacity to support the project? Do we have enough or don't we? And then what will be to the existing residents out of that municipal capacity analysis and fiscal impact analysis, the incremental tax cost to the city residents after impact fees are performed, after assessments and taxes are paid? How much will taxes go up for existing residents in the city of Laconia associated with the project? It's a very reasonable question. Would anybody disagree? Hearing none, I'll continue. In closing, I'd recommend that these changes be made to the agreement. There are counsel in town that I'm told I haven't spoken with directly who've already reviewed this contract and would be happy to offer their services to the city at no cost.
We have our
to
own
make
counsel that's
changes
already used this.
if there was interest on the city's part, to retain, again, counsel that, you know, doesn't have any extra burden to the city. Thank you for your time this evening, gentlemen.
Councilor Susi, I would clarify in this page 2 of 10, Mr. Wolf indicated about capacity. The issue that's raised here, based on, quote, based on diligence performed by the parties, there is believed to be sufficient existing water supply capacity.
Well, there's water supply because we have such the biggest lakes.
Well, that's what I mean. So, I mean, I just to clarify, I'm not sure that was really clear in Mr. Wolf's comments. We clearly need
What Mr. Wolf was
infrastructure.
referring to was getting the water from
I think he
where
was
it comes to.
But I wanted to make sure that it was reconciled with the document which says capacity, water supply.
Right,
So
water
we've got plenty of
have.
that. We have
Getting
that.
it to the development and getting it up those hills and everything else is a different story.
Right. Anyone else like to speak to this matter? Okay.
Yeah, I have a couple comments.
Go ahead, Kirk.
Oh, I just was gonna make a couple comments about a couple of the questions that came up. The water infrastructure, that came from, our water department and their civil engineers working together for the roadway infrastructure, and I'm sure, well, Ari may, but part of what we put in there, the roadway infrastructure understands that there's going to be certain upgrades that fall to the developer, but there's also gonna be certain things that maybe, we can't put all of it onto them based on we can't just ask them to go take every road that comes into Laconia and upgrade it because they have a development there. So that's what that agreement is working between, correct me if I'm wrong there. And as far as the sewer infrastructure, there is a clause in there that whatever shortfall in funding, if they put one house in there and there's a shortfall in cost, the developer is going to pick up the cost so that our ratepayers within the city don't get hit with extra charges for sewer just because they don't have enough properties up there yet to make their money. Does that sound like a fair synopsis of what was said?
Come on, yeah.
Okay to start?
Of course it is, yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name's Ari Pollack. I'm an attorney at the Gallagher firm in Concord. I've been working with Pillsbury for a long time and on this project for about a year now. The manager's comments are spot on. This document is not a planning board approval. It's not a master plan. It's not a site plan. It's not a subdivision plan. It is a framework within which other issues relating to the project can be discussed and negotiated between the developer and the city. It decides nothing except that the parties want this to go forward. They want to work together. They want to work in good faith, and they want to find solutions. And without this agreement, there's really no framework for that conversation to occur. And so there's no hand tying, there's no bottom line tonight. It's simply a mechanism by which the parties can continue to talk in early days, as was mentioned, while we go from the technical review process with city staff to the planning board. They'll have their own expertise to apply, their own public hearings to apply, and then frankly move from master planning to site-specific and site planning. There's a lot of work to be done here, and this provides an umbrella or a framework with which we can continue to talk to the city staff and work out some of these issues. There was a reference to a fiscal impact study. I believe you all have that. It was prepared by a consultant to Pillsbury, supplied to the city, I think through the manager, and it has a very positive outlook in terms of the fiscal impact of the project upon the community. And so when the time comes, and it isn't now, to decide what the specific deals will be, who's going to do what, whether it's to be privately owned when completed or publicly owned when completed, I can assure you there's a significant positive upside to the financial conversation, and I'm sure it will be on all of your minds when we're making those decisions. Thank you.
Thanks, Ari. Do you have a moment for a question?
Certainly.
My question is this, and I know you're here in front of the city council, and before I forget, Mr. Wolf is also a member of the planning board, so he'll be working with you. There's no doubt in my mind. Okay, but my question is this: you come here now for this member of understanding. You foresee yourself coming to us again and say, "Here's what we've worked out, and this is what we'd like to go with," or you would just be dependent upon approval from the planning board?
No, I do envision returning to the city council for items that require an appropriation or an expenditure of city dollars. There's no commitment made tonight, as I was just explaining, and I do think we'll be returning to the governing body of the city from time to time as these issues are rolled out.
My question comes back to, like Mr. Wolf said, whether it's water and sewer, okay? I'm sure we have plenty of water with the best lakes and best water there is in the state, but getting it up there and beyond is, when I say beyond, when we're looking at the whole area and the sewer and everything else, I think that's where the question comes in. We don't have the capability of doing that yet.
We're not doing that tonight. What we're talking about is a mechanism to have that informed conversation, and in particular, your Department of Public Works needs to be front and center to make sure that what we're discussing and what we're dividing up is physically possible and works for the equipment that the city already has.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Thanks, Ari. Appreciate your work.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're still in the public hearing.
Yes, you are.
Anyone else like to speak to this matter? Patrick, did you want to speak again? You look like you're ready to jump up.
I just want to speak, again, Patrick Wood of Ward 1. This process has just begun. As Councilor Cheney knows, being on the planning board, there is so much information yet to be gathered. The law in New Hampshire also talks about a rational nexus. So if this development creates an additional cost, the developer has to pay what is a reasonable amount to cover that additional cost. But there's a sharing. It's always a sharing of those things. We're responsible for some part of it. The developer is responsible for some part of it as well. That's basically the way the law works. But this process is really intense. I was just, as a matter of fact, today going through closing up one of my files from a project that I worked on many years ago. 2 boxes worth of files, years of work on this one project, this development, so many different aspects of it. And that was just one very small project. This is a very large project. It's going to take a lot of time. There's going to be a lot of information, a number of public hearings on a lot of different issues. So the memorandum of understanding is, as Mr. Attorney Pollack has said, it gives us an outline, a framework within which we're going to operate. It doesn't tie anyone's hands to anything other than a commitment to work together. And I think it's a great start. So I look forward to the future. It's going to be a very interesting process. There's a lot of things that are going to come out in this, but it's going to be very intense. So
Thank you, Patrick.
thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to this matter? Step right up. Welcome.
Thank you, Melissa Clegg. I may be out of order because this is not supposed to be a conversation and I have a question. But this is a memorandum of understanding between Pillsbury and the city of Laconia. But when we start talking about water, that water is coming out of Lake Winnisquam, which belongs in...
Hold on.
Is it Winnipesaukee?
Yep. Our drinking water comes from Winnipesaukee.
August Bay.
Our pumps come out of Pogus Bay, almost, if you want a basic area, almost like behind Irwin Motors, Irwin Marina, up in that area. We bring no water in from Winnisquam, ma'am.
All kinds of ignorance. All right, I'll sit down then. It was going to be a question about jurisdiction and how we share. Thank you.
We close the public hearing at 7:57 p.m. on agenda item number 13B, pulling the agenda item 22B forward, which is the Laconia State School Property Memorandum of Understanding with Pillsbury Realty Development, LLC. I think you've all heard the discussion right now as to where we're at. I'll open it up to discussion right now that would maybe lead to a motion being brought. If you'd like to discuss this, we certainly can do this now. Or we can move. Yes.
Might need to turn him up a little. It's on you. It's on you. You're at 22B. Is that what you said? 22B?
B, Bravo. Go right ahead.
Okay. Under page 2, section 3, it's talking about a lot of private roads and stuff, and I'm just curious what, I know this is just the setup discussion, but as we're living through accepting a lot of non-public streets as now being public, that it's now time to mention that if these are private roads and are not being built to city standards, we have a possibility in the future coming in with the same problem. There's no trash pickup, along with no snow removal, and the roads themselves that we're asked to take them over won't be part of the city code. So is there a discussion about that or thought about that?
Yeah, Council Bogart, this clause is actually in there for that reason. This is one that the city put in on purpose. We know that we run into developments from years ago that there's confusion as to what's public, what's private. Our reason for this clause is so we're defining them from the beginning, so they know that they have to meet their city standards on public roads, and then defining what is public and private. Mr. Wolf asked a question about capacity for us taking over work. Knowing how many roads are public versus private is going to affect us for plowing, garbage pickup, all that. So the reason this in there is us, because we want to define these as very early as possible.
Thank you. Counselors? So right now, the motion contained in the packet reads as such. So we're looking for a motion to move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Laconia and Pillsbury Realty Development as presented, and authorize the city manager to sign all documents related to this matter. So made by Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Susie. Is there any further discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll. Thank you, Tony.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes.
That's 5 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes.
Back to our regularly scheduled
That's right. Back to our regular agenda here. I'll make the mayor's comments very brief to the extent that, Kirk, please share with your team at City Hall to echo Charlie St. Clair's comments. A great appreciation for the 102nd Laconia Motorcycle Week success, certainly with some weather challenges and some challenges from our friends and neighbors north of the border. We still seem to pull off a world-class event here, and that in no small part is the result of the work of everyone in City Hall, Fire Department, Police Department, Planning, Parks and Rec. So please pass that along. It was extraordinary.
I will, thank you.
Second of all, Councilor Felch and I had an opportunity to celebrate the 15th year of Laconia Got Lunch. And this is a program that serves our school-age children with food every week for the summer months, replacing some of the food that they may have received at their lunch programs in their schools. This year, the program is serving over 500 children in this city. It's also a program that, if I'm not mistaken, Laconia Got Lunch was the first in the state.
Yes.
And it has taken off throughout the state and any number of communities as a real community effort, which relies on so many volunteers, as well as our businesses contributing food, cash donations, and a lot of really high-spirited goodwill every Monday morning throughout the summer months, about 8 o'clock in the congregational basement, to pack up these bags. It is an extraordinary effort. Thank you, Councilor Felch. Thank you to everyone involved in Got Lunch, and I will tell you, there's no better way to start a week than to take 15 to 30 minutes and dedicate it to packing bags of food for kids in this city. It is the best because it's done so efficiently, and you feel really good when you left. You get to do it with great people. So congratulations to Got Lunch, and I'm so pleased to have been able to participate once again this year. I'll move on to council comments right now. Council comments. Councilor Felch.
So I'm going to echo both of your statements, actually, and Charlie's. Being liaison and on the board for Motorcycle Week, I want to thank everybody in the city that helped out, thank all the people, but I also want to do a shout out to Charlie and Jennifer and the entire board of directors that put on a lot of work year-round to make this happen. So thank you all. Also, as far as Got Lunch, everything the mayor said, but I'd also like to extend an invite to all of my fellow councilors and city employees, anybody that wants to stop by. Sundays we're there at 10 o'clock, separating all the food and getting it ready to put in the bags, and then Monday we're there at 8 o'clock bagging up the stuff. We'll put you to work. Come on in.
Other council comments. Councilor Cheney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everyone has said good things about the city staff. I just want to single out public safety, who work more hours than are humanly possible and save lives every day of the week. And I think we're lucky to have the cops and the firemen that we have here, and the EMS personnel. I mean, the paramedics and those folks are just, we're incredibly lucky. That's my comment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Haynes.
Mayor, thank you. Just briefly, I'd like to thank all the people that worked on the Robert Hamill Community Service Award. Our clerk, Keiki Gargano, Becky Gaia, Tara Shore, Amy Levisek, Matt Sousa, and Councilor Felt. For the first year it was. And I know she's listening, but it couldn't have all happened without Nancy Brown pulling it all together. So thank you, Kurt, for allowing that.
Oh, I say that every day, so yes, I get it.
Terrific. How about committee reports or liaison reports? Any today, this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 19, which is citizens' request to comment on current agenda items. There's an agenda item that's coming up for the balance of this evening. Now would be the appropriate time to come right up and speak.
He warned me he was coming up, I forgot to tell you.
We've reduced the speaking time to 2 minutes and 2 seconds.
20 seconds. This, excuse me, this is on the sound ordinance. And when I listened to the last meeting, I know Councilor Susi and some other people. First of all, let me just say that that loud noise, whether it's from motorcycles or cars or these jacked up sound systems, are the bane of my life, as it is most citizens. I can't imagine many people are like that. It's very annoying. But you made reference to inspections. And well, we'll get them when they inspect the cars or motorcycles or whatever. But inspections, I want to remind you, are just a snapshot in time. Right there at that moment when that vehicle is being inspected. And then that doesn't happen for another year. And all kinds of things are done to those vehicles or can be done. So I don't want you to rely on that. I want you to figure out how to make this have teeth for our poor officers who don't have enough to do out there, but to try to, I don't know, put some teeth in the law or something. It's going to be tough. It's really, really tough. And a former police officer here and a former chief know that, because that's something that they deal with all the time. So I just didn't want you to get hung up on the inspections. That's not a good stopgap.
I think you raise an excellent point, Representative St. Clair, too. You know, with the potential repeal of the state inspection program in this state.
That too.
Well, that's creating an issue for safety issues, but I think it's also the idea that some of these, what was once resulted in failures of state inspections, are now becoming advisory. So now it's incumbent upon our state police and our local police to enforce some of these safety issues, which is an undue burden on them as well. Would you agree?
Yeah, if I may, they've always had that to enforce those things, because again, an inspection is a snapshot in time. So whatever the safety violation may be, it can happen 20 days down the calendar from that inspection. So in any event, I just want you to know that you're not alone about the complaints for annoying noise from people who it seems like they like to do that. Well, they're calling attention to themselves. So anyway, enough. Thank you very much.
Well, I think Councilor Cheney.
Yeah, I would point out to the representative that until this inspection law is repealed, law enforcement has a right to stop a vehicle and inspect it for muffler problems or...
Oh, they can do that whether there's an inspection law or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
All I'm saying to you is, right now, there's an inspection law that gives them the authority to do it. They also have the authority under other circumstances, but it's an enforcement, as you suggested,
right,
at some point.
Right.
And we need to put some teeth in the...
I agree, but at the same time, I want to remind anybody that if I was stopped for something that the officer thought wasn't right, I can't point to the sticker and say, "Oh no, I got an inspection sticker. See you later." That That just doesn't happen, so, anyway, thank you again.
I was gonna ask about the muffler check.
Okay, if, anyone else like to speak to matters on the current agenda? Seeing none, let's move on to the city manager's report.
Thank you.
Item 20.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two documents with you tonight. I'm gonna move relatively quickly through them, but certainly at any time, feel free to see me for questions. Couple road projects. If you're up in the Weirs over Motorcycle Week, you saw Hilliard Road and White Oaks Road had a lot of work being done, and they'll be moving into Appleton Street, Old North Main Street soon to finish up those road and drainage projects. The Weirs Boulevard Route 3 bridge. This is the bridge we've been talking about that we're working on funding with state money. Work won't be state money and city money. The work won't be done until 2026, but they noticed the deficiency in it, and that's why the Langley Cove Bridge area, you saw the shift in traffic. It was a slight shift in traffic, so it wasn't too bad. And DPW and the state worked well on getting that taken care of. Still got a lot of work going on with the Winnipesaukee River Basin project as far as our funding and cost piece goes. I'm not prepared to get into it too deep tonight, but I will just say that Wes is our representative to the Winnipesaukee River Basin. Has been bringing back a lot of information, continues to work with them and the state on trying to get these costs under control. Weirs Beach Docks reconfiguration, as you saw, was complete. We had the opening for it. It was a huge success over these last couple of weekends with the boats that were up there. We still have to. We are still working on the signs. Just during Motorcycle Week, it was tough to get that taken care of, but they will get that done. And that's all I have out of that document, unless you have any questions. The other one I have, I'm going to skip to page 2 of it and go to the number at the bottom that we always talk about. We're at 2.58% annualized out right now on our CIP number, so we're still a long ways. Well, geez, I guess we're coming up on July, so almost halfway through the year according to this, for what we'll be using for a number next year. We haven't passed this budget yet, but we're already planning on next year's numbers. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for the city manager?
Correct. Where's the bridge on Route 3?
Yep.
Is that deck safe?
Yeah, they were comfortable with the movement. They shifted that lane over. They were comfortable with that until this project can be started.
And have they given any time frame?
2026.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to new business on agenda item number 21, 21A. It's a community development block grant request to schedule 7 public hearings. This request is for the Laconia City Council to hold 7 consecutive public hearings, starting on Monday, July 14th during the regular city council meeting, which begins at 7 p.m., in case you were wondering, here at City Hall. Community development block grant funds are available to municipalities through New Hampshire Community Development Finance Authority. Up to $500,000 annually is available for economic development projects, up to $500,000 for housing projects, up to $500,000 for public facility projects, up to $350,000 in emergency funds, up to $25,000 per planning study grant. All projects must directly benefit a majority of low, moderate income persons. The public hearings will receive comments on the following. I'll keep this brief. A proposed application to the Community Development Finance Authority up to $500,000 CDBG public facility grants. This is in, these funds will be sub-granted to the Community Action Program of Belknap, Merrimack counties. They want to make improvements to Laconia Senior Center at 184 Beacon Street West in Laconia, including a commercial kitchen. The Anti-Displacement Relocation Assistance Plan for Merrimack Belknap Community Action Laconia Senior Center renovation project. Presentation of the summary of information from the recently completed Community Action Program Planning Study Grant. The updated Housing and Community Development Plan. Progress of CDBG funded improvements to the playground at the Boys and Girls Club. Progress for the Partnership of Public Health Improvement Project at 11 Academy Square. And progress of the Lakes Region Community Developers Improvements Project for the Millview Apartments on Union Avenue and Locust Street and Jameson Street. So right now I'll be looking for a motion to move to schedule the 7 public hearings. noted previously on July 14th during the regular city council meeting as presented. So made by Councilor Cheney, seconded by Councilor Haynes. Is there any further discussion? I'd ask you to please call the roll, Katie.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 21B, Laconia Airport Authority lease termination agreement and notice of lease. The hangar at 28 Airport Road is changing ownership. We have a new lease agreement in place with the owner, York Wind LLC. The Airport Authority is seeking authorization from the City Council for the Mayor, Andrew Hosmer, City Manager, to sign lease termination agreement with Narrotom S. Gruel Trust and a notice of lease with York Wind LLC on behalf of City of Laconia. The city incurs no cost. The revenues generated by these lease agreements are payable to the Laconia Airport Authority and are applied to the operating budget of the airport. At the Airport Authority meeting on June 19th, the Laconia Airport Authority did in fact authorize the mayor or vice chair, Dale Chan Eddy, to sign lease termination agreement with Gruel Trust and notice of lease to York Wind. Laconia Airport Authority is seeking authorization, again, from the city council or the mayor or Kirk to sign the lease termination agreement. Right now, I'll be looking for a motion to authorize the mayor, Andrew Hosmer, or city manager Kirk Biotti to sign the lease termination agreement with Narrotom S. Gruel Trust and the notice of lease with York Wind LLC on behalf of the city of Laconia. So made by Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Cheney. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Agenda item number 21C, acceptance of an easement from NHDOT for Paugus Bay Park Road. Kirk, would you touch on that for us, please?
So at one point, Paugus Park Road was private, became a public road in the 80s. Part of the road and all of the drainage areas in the railroads right away. For us to be able to do work on the road and also any of that drainage, we need an easement. This is something that Public Works Director has been working on for a while with the state. We're at the point now where if you finalize this agreement, they will take it to the Executive Council, and we'll have the easement that we need to do drainage work and any road work in any of the area that falls into the right-of-way.
I think the residents there will be appreciative of the increased work on that road.
Very much so.
Yes. Right now, I'm looking for a motion to move that the City Council accepts the easement from the New Hampshire DOT and authorizes the city manager to sign the lease easement. So made by Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Susie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 21D, appointment of the city manager to the School Care Membership Council on July 1st, 2025. City of Laconia's Health Benefit Plan Manager will change from New Hampshire Interlocal Trust to School Care. As a member of School Care, the City of Laconia must select 2 representatives from the membership council. 1 member will represent the employer, 1 will represent the employees. City Manager Kirk Biotti is requesting the City Council appoint city manager or his or her designee to be the employer representative to the School Care Membership Council. Right now, I'm looking for a motion to move to appoint city manager or his or her designee to the School Care Membership Council. So made by Councilor Susie, seconded by Councilor Haynes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 21D, request to sign the unlicensed dog warrant of 2025, also known as Who Let the Dogs Out, unlicensed. The list of unlicensed dogs must be distributed to the City Council for approval within 20 days from June 20th to permit the issuance of civil forfeiture penalties. Under RSA, due to privacy laws, the list is sealed from non-public and is not included with the staff report. And it will be present at the council meeting. So right now, this is recurring motion we have in front of us every year, submitted by Katie Gargano, our city clerk. Right now, I'll be looking for a motion to move to issue the warrant as presented for the 2025 unlicensed dogs. So made by A lot of dog lovers here, right? Counselor Haynes, second
Mine
by.
are both licensed.
All right. Counselor Susie, you okay with that?
Sure.
Going on the record? All right. Is there any discussion? Ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes.
That's 5 votes in the affirmative. The motion passes. What disappoints me is not one of you barked when you did offered your vote. Agenda item number 21F, consideration of parking restrictions on Simpson Avenue. Kirk, could you touch on that, please?
Yeah, Council Cheney asked me to look into the parking restrictions in the Methodist campground area, as seems like we're having some people that may be parking to avoid the meters, and it's blocking where people want to park for their residences. Simpson Ave is the only one that still remains open as a, there's no signage for any reason. It hasn't been approved by you to have no parking up there. I recommend that we send this either to Government Operations, which handles the parking, or Public Works Department, or Public Works Subcommittee, either one, your choice, to review this and bring back to the full council a recommendation on adding signs.
Counselors, do you have a choice for the committee?
We're meeting soon.
Who are you?
Government Operations is going to meet.
Let's send it to Government
Yep, sounds
Operations.
good.
How about that? All right. Moving on. Agenda item number 21G, Resolution 2025 relative to proposed amendments to sections 2:02, 2:03, 2:06, and 3:05 of the Laconia City Charter to be included on the ballot for the November 2025 municipal election.
Okay. So what you have in front of you is, as you recall, I'll go to the last one on the list easier, 305. That's the request that's been made to put on the ballot a change of the start time for the city council meeting from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. In your packet on the last page of this section, it does show what some other places, the other cities do in the state. The remaining of them, I took the very easy one, and Katie's would work because they're all election stuff.
I was prepared to talk about the last one too, so.
That doesn't sound good.
So the first change is in regards to the supervisor of the checklist sessions. So in 2016, the law had changed that mandates when sessions can be held, and they give this city and towns more flexibility. But currently, in 2014, we had a charter change that dictates we must meet at a specific time. So I'm just looking to have the charter changed so it reflects what the current RSA states. So if the RSA changes, we don't have to go back and change our charter every time. It'll just always follow what the state law is, so it's easier for us, and it gives us more flexibility. The next item was in section 2.3 is to remove that section altogether. It repeats itself from section 2. And then also in section 2.3 is for you guys to have the discussion on if you'd like to hold, 2.6, on if you'd like to continue to hold a municipal primary. So I did some research on which cities hold primaries, which ones don't. It's included in the packet to show you. The primaries cost in between $5,000 and $7,500. Our charter states that we only have to hold a primary if we have 3 or more candidates for mayor or city council. And it's not required to hold a primary. So it's up to you on if you would like to continue that. If you do want to continue to have a primary, my next request is also in section 2.6, and it's to change the filing period to the first Wednesday in July versus the first Wednesday in August, because currently our filing period is going to end on August 15th. And if we're going to have a primary, I only have less than 3 weeks to prepare for September 9th. And it's making it difficult for ordering ballots and materials and stuff like that. So I'd like to change that back a month to give us some more time to prepare. And then the last item was what Kirk had stated about changing the meeting time.
Any questions for the Clerk, at this point?
One question. Changing the meeting time to six PM. Does that set then, or do we have the option to change that again?
It would be set
By
again.
charter.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what we would be doing with this process here is you guys have time to talk about it tonight, review it. We're requesting it goes to a public hearing. If everything goes through the public hearing and we don't have any concerns, Katie also has to send it to Secretary of State's office. They have to review it to make sure we're not doing anything that we're not supposed to do. If they're approve it, you've already approved it, then it'll be ready for the for it to be able to go on the ballot. If there's a discrepancy in either one of those, we would just have to have an additional public hearing to correct any problems or mistakes and make sure it still wants to go on to the ballot.
And to add, Kirk, we also have to send it to the Attorney General's office in the Department of Revenue.
So will this be a separate vote on each of these items? Okay.
All right.
Oh, sorry, if I may, I'm sorry. You mean on your vote that you're taking?
I thought you meant on the ballot, that's what I put, you should.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I shook my head thinking
Yeah,
you meant
both.
ballot, but you both. Yeah, well, you can. Yeah, we can make sure that. Yeah, you don't have to approve this as a package
'Cause we might
when,
not
when you
want-
get it. Yep,
want one of those items
that'll all be
Right,
part of
yeah,
your
you can
discussion.
strike
And
it.
yes,
Absolutely.
Okay.
yep.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just quickly, Katie, the changes, will that be on a separate ballot, or will it be in the ballot with the candidates?
It would be on the same ballot as the candidates.
Okay.
All right, we ready to move through the motions, so to speak? All right. Right now, I'm looking for a motion to move waive a reading of Resolution 2025-25 in its entirety, to read by title only, so made by Council Cheney, seconded by Councilor Haynes. So that's the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart? Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Next, looking for a motion to schedule a first reading of Resolution 2025-25 relative to proposed amendments to Laconia City Charter to amend sections 2:02, 2:03, 2:06, and 3:05 as presented. So made by Councilor Susie, seconded by Councilor Haynes. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes?
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Next on this matter, and finally, I'm looking for a motion to move to schedule a public hearing on July 14th, 2025 during the regular city council meeting to gather public input prior to any action being taken. So made by Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Susie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes?
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart? Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Moving on to unfinished business, I believe, yes. Agenda item number 22A, offer to purchase city-owned property located at tax map 442-15-7.1, the second and third floors of the parking garage located on Beacon Street East, Laconia. Kirk, would you like to just lead us through briefly on that?
Yep, this is you had a public hearing on this tonight. This is the sale of the parking garage, second and third floors. It just as a reminder, the first floor is not owned by us. This was a request, a written offer by a private party to purchase after the other potential sale fell through. We have worked through our purchase and sales, but I can't sign anything and move that sale until your approval, and that's really where we stand tonight.
Right now, you have a motion in front of you, councilors. It states it's a motion to move to authorize the city manager, Kirk Biotti, to sign all documents relating to the sale of the city-owned property located at tax map 442-15-7.1, the second and third floors of the parking garage located on Beacon Street East, Laconia, New Hampshire, as proposed. So made by Councilor Felch and seconded by Councilor Haynes. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes?
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. We've already taken care of 22B and move on to 22C, Resolution 2025-24, relative to authorizing the use of downtown TIF funds in an amount not to exceed $27,645 for improvements to the downtown area. We had a public hearing earlier this evening. The Downtown TIF Advisory Board recommended several improvements for the downtown area to support Laconia Pumpkin Festival. These improvements include updated rope lights for the light poles in downtown, installation of ground fault circuit interrupter outlets on several light poles downtown, installation of a control panel for the Canal Street lights, installation of color-changing LED lights on Canal Street. Hope they're not going to keep me awake, and additional landscaping.
Buy new sunglasses.
While these improvements will have an immediate impact on Laconia Pumpkin Festival, most can be repurposed to support future events and holiday seasons. A detailed estimated cost breakdown has been provided with this request. At the June 9th, 2025 City Council hearing, a motion was approved to schedule a public hearing, which was heard earlier this evening. The cost estimate for the proposed improvements is $27,645. The funds will be drawn from the downtown TIF fund balance. The current balance in the downtown TIF fund is $745,929.96. We're now looking for a series of three motions. The first is to move to waive a reading of Resolution 2025-24 in its entirety and to read by title only. So made by Councilor Cheney, seconded by Councilor Susie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Five votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Next on this matter, motion to move a second reading of Resolution 2025-24 relative to authorizing the use of downtown TIF funds in an amount not to exceed $27,645 for improvements in the downtown area. So made by Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Cheney. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes.
Five votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Finally, on this matter, looking for a motion to move to approve Resolution 2025-24 relative to authorizing the use of downtown TIF funds in an amount not to exceed $27,645 for improvements to the downtown area as presented. So made by Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Susie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes.
Five votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 22D, Resolution 2025-23, request to authorize withdrawal of $71,000 from the Winter Maintenance Reserve account to offset expenses incurred in responding to winter storms in the 2024-25 winter season. The city maintains a reserve fund to help accommodate fluctuations in winter maintenance expenses. Funds are added as budgets and mild winters allowed to be used during years with harsher winters. Fiscal year 2025 expenses incurred in response to the winter snow and ice storms totaled $492,061.36, $71,200.36 over the budgeted amount of $420,860. Accommodating this overage puts a severe strain on the Public Works Department budget. It is requested that $71,000 in reserve funds be used to accommodate the overage. The June 9th, 2025 City Council meeting, a motion was approved to schedule a public hearing in this matter. That was held earlier this evening. Approval of this proposal would reduce the balance of the winter maintenance reserve by $71,000, leaving a balance of approximately $114,958. Series of three motions here. The first one, looking for a motion to waive a reading of Resolution 2025-23 in its entirety to read by title only. So made by Councilor Cheney, seconded by Councilor Susie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes.
Five votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Next on this matter, looking to move a second reading of Resolution 2025-23, request to authorize withdrawal from the Winter Maintenance Reserve account in the amount of $71,000 to offset expenses incurred in the 2024-25 winter season. So made by Councilor Susie, seconded by Councilor Haynes. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes.
Five votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Finally, in this matter, looking for a motion to move to approve Resolution 2025-23, request to authorize withdrawal of the Winter Maintenance Reserve account in the amount of $71,000 to offset expenses incurred in the 2024-25 winter season. So made by Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Haynes. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart? Counselor Felch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 22E is Resolution 2025-22 relative to carrying forward certain appropriations from fiscal year 2025 into fiscal year 2026 to allow for completion of continuing projects and priorities.
Mr. Mayor, can I just
Please
throw
do.
in an amendment on this one? In
yeah.
addition, it just came in last minute. I'd be looking to add to this a $10,000 rollover from salary of PD into city manager's contingency for a possible COPS grant share. It's a last minute thing. We're not positive we need to do it, but to be able to do it, we just need to placehold this somewhere. So I'd be looking to add that to the carry forwards in this.
Okay, just make sure, obviously, you do this, but update this document so.
Oh, yeah, we'll get it updated for your signature and everything. I just wanted to
Just want to
bring
make
it
sure the
forward.
public has access to it and sees every line item that.
Yep,
they feel they
we
need.
absolutely.
So, that being said, are we ready to move to motions here? Okay. First motion is to, on this, motion to move to waive a reading of resolution in its entirety, read by title only, so made by Counselor Cheney, second by Counselor Haynes. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart? Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Next on this matter, looking for a motion to move a second reading of Resolution 2025-22 relative to carrying forward certain appropriations from fiscal year 2025 into fiscal year 2026 to allow for the completion of continuing projects and priorities. So made by Counselor Felch, second by Counselor Haynes. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor
Yes.
Susie? Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart? Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Finally, on this matter, looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2025-22 relative to carrying forward certain appropriations from fiscal year 2025 into fiscal year 2026 to allow for completion of continuing projects and priorities as presented. So made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Cheney.
I'll note with the amendment.
With the, as amended. Thank you very much, as amended. Yes. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart? Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Horse smells the barn. Going a little too fast. Agenda item number 22F. Took a big breath like you're ready to talk. Like
I want to see if you want to take it off the table first. And I can explain why I asked you.
Would you like us to?
That's up to you. Yes, I would like to discuss it, but I need it off table to discuss it.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, this item has to be taken off the table, so the motion is made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Is there any discussion? I don't think you need to have one. All those in favor of taking it off the table, please call the roll.
Oops.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart? Counselor Felch?
Yes.
Thank
It's
you,
off the
Mr. Mayor.
table.
So this is the casino project or potential ordinance change, ordinance change with the casinos as to whether or not we want to add them to any of the zones within the city. As you know, right now it's defined as in the weirs. What we're really still looking to do is to bring this to a public hearing and allow you guys to hear the public and then have the conversation. Work with planning department during that time to determine if this is something we want to continue to move forward. One of the questions came up last time publicly was, can planning board approve this contingent upon it coming back to the council for their approval, and that they cannot. That planning board has final say by RSA. As with anything,
Yes.
that's their statutory agreement. This gives you guys the opportunity, timing now, to be able to make some of those adjustments and changes. So, all this is looking for is to go to a public hearing. That's up to you guys at this point.
So the planning board could determine like to put this at wherever they want, like Laconia Village
You
or
can-
Old North Main Street or something like that.
No.
No.
All right, I'm
No.
just checking that's not gonna be the.
You can set the ordinance which allows zoning, all the zoning changes come back to you.
Right.
The final approval for buildings and all that do not.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure, go right ahead.
what about ZBA? change?
Yeah, their changes will come back to you as well.
Well, they make
Say in the
changes.
microphone, Counselor
I'm
Cheney.
sorry. They
Rob,
make
do you wanna-
changes that haven't come back to us.
Good evening.
Good evening. So I think your question is, so if you propose changes, it would have to go back to planning board, and then planning board would make those changes, and it would have to come back to city council for final say.
But my question, Rob, is, we say it has to be in this area.
Yep.
Somebody comes in and says, I want to put it over here, and ZBA says, yeah, you can.
That's always plausible that somebody could request a variance and go to the zoning board and
Is
do
there
that.
any way we can prevent a variance?
Legally, I don't think there's any way that you can prohibit the zoning board from approving a variance.
Could we check on that, please, Mr.
Yep,
Mayor?
yep.
With our
No, we can.
corporate counsel? Thank you.
Yep.
Counselor Susie, speaking.
I just have a hard time with this because it's not that I'm against casinos, but I'm against the fact that here we are, we're the elected officials of the city, and we're leaving it to the planning board to almost like set it. They're the decision makers. And, you know, our constituents, we work for our constituents. The planning board members are not elected officials. I understand that statute, it controls this. I just want to make myself clear on that. Thank you.
I agree with Counselor Susie. It's, you know, there's been a lot of things that I've questioned, but, you know, they pass it, and that's the way it is.
So is somebody looking to put it back on the table?
I would.
I mean, I would say we set the guidelines for them. We appoint them.
I think we have a motion to table.
We may, yeah. Suggestion, a gentle
I
suggestion.
made a table motion.
So is making a motion to table, is there a second?
Yes.
Second. It's non-debatable. I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
No.
4-1, the item goes back on the table.
Yep. Nope, I put it on my list. Yep.
Agenda item number 22G, ordinance 2025-167-2, 167-3, amending chapter 167 noise, section 1672, certain noises restricted, and section 167 sound equipment. Kirk, is there something that we can add to this? I know this is a,
Motion to take off the table first.
we were taking, but is there a motion to take it off the table?
Yes. I was making the motion.
Thank you, Counselor Felch. Second by Counselor Haynes. Ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative, the motion's off the table. Kirk,
So this went on the table last time for two reasons. One was because of on page 142 of your document, in highlighted and bolded blue, we wanted to add the involved in commercial uses for excavation, exterior building construction, landscaping, so we're not targeting residents trying to do their work, which, you know, we had changed just before the meeting. And the second one was if we can look in deeper dive into some of those vehicles that are making the loud noise. In different conversations, we believe that we can already get that to fit under the ordinances that we have. Between last meeting and this meeting, just with Motorcycle Week, I wasn't able to work with the police chief, but we will. So I think this document, as it sits right now, is ready to be passed, and we can work on the vehicles later, because I don't think it needs to go back into here specifically.
Right.
Okay, so it's off the table. Is the council ready to go through a series of 3 motions on this?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So the first motion we're looking for is to waive a reading of ordinance 2025-167-2, 1673 in its entirety to read by title only. So made by Counsel Cheney, second by Counsel Felch. Any further discussion? We'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart? Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative. That motion passes. Next on this matter, looking for a motion to move a second reading of ordinance 2025-167-2, 167-3, amending chapter 167 noise, section 167-2, certain noise restricted, and section 167-3, sound equipment. So made by Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Haynes. Any further discussion on this matter? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart? Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Finally, on this matter, looking for a motion to approve ordinance 2025-167-2, 167-3, amending chapter 167, noise, section 167-2, certain noise restricted, and section 167-3, sound equipment as presented. So made by Councilor Felch, seconded by Councilor Haynes. Is there any further discussion? Yes.
Was there an amendment that needs to be?
No, because what you have in here is the correct one.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Seeing no other further requests for discussion, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Cheney?
Yes.
Counselor Susie?
Yes.
Counselor Haynes?
Yes.
Counselor Bogart?
Yes.
Counselor Felch?
Yes.
5 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 22H, which is a general budget discussion here.
I think you guys already did that when we talked earlier. Yeah, we put it in there. We did this last year to give you guys an opportunity just to have a round table discussion about budget, but I think you guys hit your marks earlier, and we're gonna talk about it again on the 14th.
Terrific. I'd like to adjourn the,
Mayor, just a quick
sure.
question.
Yes, sir.
Kirk,
Yes.
for the budget, there has to be 3 readings and a public hearing, or is the public hearing part of?
No, we've met our public hearing requirement.
Yep.
And now when we go to the 14th, what you'll have, the document in front of you will be ready to vote on.
And that'll be the third?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
pass the
That'll
budget.
be
You can
the
pass the
fin-
budget that night.
Finalization.
Yeah, and like I said, unless there's something that is jumping out at the state, which I think we've cleared up a couple things, I'm expecting it to be ready for your vote.
Okay, and some of the things we mentioned tonight, you're gonna get us figures?
Yeah, I'm gonna sit down again. My responsibility is to always show you a tax cap compliant budget. So I have to go back and make some. We know 90% of it is ready to go. Those last couple of 3 kind of bullet points at the top, I will have different scenarios for you.
Okay. It's fine. Thank you, Mayor.
you're welcome. So, with that being said, I'd like to adjourn the Laconia City Council meeting of June 23rd, 2025 at 8:47 PM. Thank you all. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, Kirk.
Thank you.